Welcome to What's Brewing in Admissions, a roundtable podcast answering all your questions. It's everything you need to know about college.
3, 2, 1.
Hey y'all, thanks for joining us today for What's Brewing in Admissions. Today we have a guest speaker, not guest speaker, but a guest, JT Harrison. He works with us here at Heritage. He's our Vice President of Advancement for the school. He raises money. He and his office, they raise money to support the school here. I'm going to let him tell you more about that, but we're in a very unique position. Well, not very unique, just unique position in the fact that we're 80% donor funded. And we wanted to have JT come with us today to talk about how that's possible. Because when I'm out and we're talking to people, a lot of people are just really blown away by that. The fact that we can be that highly funded as for an institution like we have, being nationally accredited and only offering Bible degrees. Like, how is that possible? So, JT, I know you do this a lot, and you go around and you talk to a lot of different people about the school and how this is possible. So we'd just like for you to maybe share with that today, and then more people can listen in on their own time.
Okay. Well, we believe at Heritage that if our students leave here with their diploma to capture their dream of going into a mission field, going to a congregation, whether it be for youth ministry or to be a pulpit minister, and they get into that position and they realize that they're paying back $400, $500, $600 a month or even more for student loans, then that can put a stranglehold on that dream. Mm-hmm. And too many times I see this being the case is that you'll have students coming through different Bible colleges leaving with $40,000, $60,000, even $80,000 in student debt. By the time they'll finish paying that debt off, they could have bought a home. And so they sit down at night at the table and say, look, we can't make it on this money because I don't know how many of y'all know this, but preachers don't make a great deal of money, especially when they first get into into ministry. And so they have to make a decision. Do we put food on the table or and pay our loans or what do we do? And so many times that those students end up going into the workforce full time. And before you know it, they're sitting on the pew with everyone else. Not that they aren't doing good, but they've lost that dream. And we decided back in 2012, 2013, we looked and collectively, our students alone had borrowed over $251,000. And we said, this cannot happen. So we started raising money for scholarships. We started offering scholarships that allowed our students to graduate, in most cases, debt-free from their loans, not having to obtain loans. And then 10 years later, we looked at that snapshot, and all of our students collectively had just borrowed over $6,000. So that's a big difference. And the only way that we're able to do that is because a lot of people out there don't just love Heritage Christian. They love the lost. Yeah. They want the lost to be saved. And so they want our students to be able to leave here debt-free and for the rest of their lives carry out that mission that they once set their minds to do. I have found that raising money is not as difficult as what most people would think because they believe in what we're doing, and that makes all the difference in the world. And I just love and appreciate Heritage. I go all the way back to 1976 when I first came here to be a student, and I've loved the school ever since. And I want everyone that goes through these doors or that contributes in some way to the school to continue to love the school and to appreciate what the school has given.
So if someone wanted to donate, what ways can they donate? Do they donate? Is there a special fund or Is it, can they give in any way? Just the different opportunities that we have here.
Yes, if they have a special interest in giving for certain things, they can give and earmark that money for different things, such as for scholarships or um, just a number of things that go on here at the campus. I normally recommend that they give to something we have here that is called the Heritage Fund. The Heritage Fund is a fund that can um, that money can be taken out of that fund and it can pay some scholarships. It can pay for our students to eat,
Important.
in our cafeteria. It can pay for repairs. It can pay for any number of things, but it can collectively be taken out of that. Now, some people just simply want to give to scholarships, which is great. The thing that we have to keep in mind with scholarships is that we never that we're so overrun that we don't need scholarship money, but when we start selecting certain key places that we want that money to go, let's say if it were a library fund, well, we can't spend that fund unless the need is there in our budget. So it's best to just put it in the Heritage Fund and let it be divvied out to the needs of our departments.
Right. So, saying, for example, we have those scholarship funds and that pays tuitions. What that scholarship fund does, it pays tuition. But for tuition, we need to pay for the teachers, which is paid out of a different fund.
Right.
And so we have all these different resources. All those resources teach the student. All those different components of our school, what makes the school happen. So it's not. I think maybe sometimes we don't realize exactly what those funds mean.
Even the lot bill teaches the student.
I know, and it's hard to kind of wrap your mind around that sometimes.
Yeah.
When you're not dealing with the finances.
Right. And it's hard for sometimes people to want to think along the lines, I don't want to give to the general fund because that just pays for the power bill. Well, if we couldn't pay the power bill, we wouldn't have a school.
We wouldn't have technology.
We wouldn't have the technology.
Yeah.
And as you said, we wouldn't have teachers, that we must pay those teachers.
Yeah.
Now, so one thing that I try to tell churches and individuals that it's wonderful when they can help students pay their individual bill.
Mm-hmm.
We have churches and individuals that assist in doing that, and that is wonderful. But if they would consider putting it in towards a scholarship, that helps all the students. Now, you come back to the student who has a need financially on their bill, then we do everything that we can to help them find the resources to pay for that bill. We want to lose anyone as a student because of money.
Yeah.
And I think most students who try to pay their bill, all of them will tell you that we do everything within our power. There are times when you've called and y'all have called and said, look, someone needs help here. And I can make a call to a church or an individual and they're able to help them. And that's important.
Mm-hmm.
But I would encourage people that when you give to the school, give to scholarships, give to the teachers fund, or give to that heritage fund. Those are the top three things as far as need that we have.
Okay. That's great. Is there any particular time of the year that you need more, or is it, when is the givings down? Like if somebody wants to come in and be the hero of the day, I know we always need money, but in the way our money cycle runs, because I hear you say we're at zero, July 1, we're at zero. So kind of tell us a little bit what that
technically,
means.
Our fiscal year runs from June until July. And so we start on July 1st and essentially we're broke from the standpoint of being able to use the money from before. Now we'll have, cash that may be brought over. But that money that we didn't spend goes into a quasi fund, and that's for a rainy day fund in case something bad happens.
Mm-hmm.
But generally in May and June is when we start feeling that pinch a little more as far as getting all the funds that we need in, because that's when we're preparing our budget and finalizing. The board is finalizing that budget. And so, hey, we still need money, through June. We don't just give up on it. And so there will be no such thing as giving too much money this year to in the month of June, because there are places that we can put that. But generally, any time of the year. And I also say this, that sometimes people think, well, my little small contribution will not help anyone. We've had people that have been giving to this school for 40 plus years and have maybe given $50 a month, $100 a month, $25 a month. And you think about throughout those years how much that amounts to.
Yeah.
It cost us $10,000 each year for a student for a scholarship. Well, they've essentially educated several students
Right.
at that rate.
And,
So,
and how many souls? There's there's no way to know that.
right.
But how many souls has that one person reached? We don't know. They don't know. But that's what what someone considers small, that's how God makes it so huge and monumental. Why you always say there's no such thing as a small gift.
Well, and I tell people that if you go onto a thing on the internet called I think it's called the death clock. It's a thing that tells how many people are born in the world each minute, how many people die each minute. And everywhere in the world, there are about 109 people that die each minute in the world. And you think about how many of those perhaps that are unprepared to meet God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we exist. We don't exist to be a general education school. We don't exist to put lawyers and doctors through school, although all those things are needed. We are a single focus school that's dedicated to training preachers and teachers and other students, men and women, in their own respective roles to reach those 109 people. And that's a great task. It's like Paul said that we may not all be able to go and to preach, but we can support those who preach. And that's what a lot of our people do and have done for a long time. But it's a very simple process. If we don't teach and invest in our students, then there will be nothing on that end. And I always tell people it's an investment. You invest in a student, then long after we've gone from this world, that student is going to be bringing people to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that they reach will be bringing people to heaven, and so on and so on. And so there's no better way to invest your money than in souls.
You're right, because that's the fund that just continues to grow because God gives that increase. It's a beautiful story. It really is.
And what amazes me are the people who give to our school that could have used that money for something else. They could have bought a car or a yacht or anything, and or a second home, but yet they give liberally and sacrificially, and God blesses them for that.
Yeah.
And
I talked to one of our donors not too long ago, and he was talking about some things that they were getting to do. They were retiring, and some things they were going to get to do, but it wasn't expensive things. It was living closer to family. And I was telling them, we'd appreciated their sacrifices and things they'd given to us. And he said to me that it was his responsibility. He felt that with his money, what he did with it, because he was blessed, he felt like he had a greater responsibility for that money. And those are the kind of people that seriously keep the lights on here. And that's so special. And I just hope I can be a tenth of that person, because those examples, those teach me lessons every day as we do this. I'm glad I can be a little bitty part of this school. But, and I think, this school doesn't belong to us. I really believe it's God's work. And I appreciate what you and your team do to be able to do that. We recruit students, but you're able, because of what you all do. We truly are a team here at the school because of what we all do, whether it's marketing or, the guy behind this camera, we all work together, and every part we play does truly bring a soul. And I think the investment, I love that. I really, really like that part, the investment that you're making, because in world today, everybody's talking about investing and the inflation and all the things. And you think about how much money we throw away every day.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about the investment you can make. And our small churches, I always think about them, like what they've stood on their shoulders. Like, they have held us up for how many years? Like, you just talk about all the time about small congregations that have consistently given to us over the years.
We have some churches that have given for 55 and 56 years to the school.
That's
And some of
That's
those
great.
churches today may have 40 people, 60 people, but they have given year in and year out. And you would be amazed at the number of churches and individuals that have been with us that long. And I think it's truly great. But it's something they do, and they love doing it.
Mhm.
It's fundraising is no, it's not an easy thing, but it's more of a matter of being organized to reach people. Because when you show people the opportunity, they want that opportunity to give. If they can give, they will give.
I know as we travel, a lot of times you talk about, the ways people can help support the school. It is financial by all means, but share a couple of the other ways you feel like people can support the school.
Something that a lot of people may not think about is that you may say, well, I don't have a lot of money, because I'm just getting by month to month, year to year, but you may have an estate. And some people will occasionally leave us in their will, where a certain amount of money will be contributed to the school. There are times when maybe they have no heirs, and it would simply go to the state or to something else, to the government. Then they give that money to us in different ways. And I am not a tax expert, and won't even get into that part, but sometimes there are ways that an estate planner can show people who are willing to leave us in their will, where they can give us money and at the same time be able to do what they wanted to do for their heirs.
Hmm.
The tax advantages that are out there sometimes can give people the ability to do things they didn't know they could do.
Right.
And that's when they need to go to an expert, either go to their lawyer or an accountant or both, and talk to them about that. But there was a family I know last year came up to me after I spoke, and they said, our children are grown. They are well off financially. They don't need what we have. And so we want to leave our money to the school.
That's amazing.
And so
And that's the way God keeps his works going. He does that.
there are sometimes people donate tangible items.
Okay.
They may donate a car. They may donate land.
No, that's awesome.
So there's just different ways that people don't even think about. And occasionally people will give us a little piece of land or something like that, and it will it adds up.
I think another cool thing is that we do here is our transparency with our money and where our money goes. And if people want to invest, they can feel good about that investment and knowing how it's spent and things like that. So I really applaud the openness. And I know that's another reason why we're blessed is because of that, being able. So if someone wanted to give in a significant way or just wanted to talk to you personally, they could do that by reaching, out. In this, even underneath this podcast, I think they could reach out.
Yeah, they just reach out to me personally. I'll be more than happy to talk to them. I can give them my cell phone number, whatever is necessary. But it all starts with making that call, and there are different ways they can give. As far as they can give monthly, they can set it up on a bank account where it just comes out of their bank a little bit at a time, or on a credit card if they choose to do that. And sometimes people may give yearly, maybe at the end of the tax year or something. They know they'll have more money, and so they schedule to give money that way. So there are all kinds of things that they can do that will, if people want to give money, we can help them find a way to give in a way that will be not harmful to them or hurtful in any way, but will be a blessing to them and a blessing to us.
We don't put anybody in a bad spot. We don't want anyone to be put in that position. But also, if someone has not ever, maybe their congregation, they're listening to this and their congregation's never heard about Heritage and never heard of anything we do, you'd be glad to come and talk to them, right? At their church, at their congregation, talk to their church about it, talk to their eldership about it. And Dwayne and Caleb would do the same here. So if you're listening and this is something that you really want to talk more in depth about, we would love for you to reach out, and we will send one of our ministers, one of our staff people to come and talk to you, and they can talk to you and answer your questions more personally.
At the bottom of the screen, we will have our telephone number, so that number will be there. You can always reach out.
Yeah,
Great.
that'd be great.
A lot of our donors, our donor base, are people who are 50, 60, 75 years old. That as that base grows older, naturally, then our need as individuals, as our need for new money also grows. And there are churches, sadly, out there that each year are closing because they have gotten so small that they have no young people. Maybe they're in a rural area. They have because of all these factors. Maybe they can't find a minister. There are a lot of churches out there that cannot find a minister. They Home Mission, for instance, tells us that there are about 125 churches each year that close in this country, and I believe that.
Yeah.
I've known of several myself in the past few months. Not all of them are because they don't have a preacher, but in many cases, people will call and say, we can't give any longer because we're closing our doors. We've looked for a minister for 3 or 4 years. We don't have a prospect of growing, and so we're closing the doors. And that not only hurts the church in that area, most of all, but it also hurts us and affects us. So we constantly need new churches, new individuals that will give. The ones that are currently giving can't carry that torch forever.
You know, Dr. Brothers, when he speaks, he always says that making ministers is our ministry. And it just does sum us up so well. And I know being able to do that gives hope to the smaller congregations too. When you talk about them, closing their doors, sometimes having a minister helps them hold on and helps them grow and reach. And I always talk about those small churches when we go out and we talk to them, and how much it encourages them, to know they can be a part of this because they know they're part of something bigger. And when you're giving to something like this, what we're doing as a collective at the church at large, it's a very exciting thing because you think about I'm a part of something that's a lot bigger than myself and what I can see in front of my face.
Right. And I try to tell churches that we're not just coming to them to say, we want you to give to us. We are trying to help them, not just to find the ministers, but we have things like audit classes for their members.
Right.
We have the Berean series. In fact, I was out of town 2 or 3 weeks back, and a church that I had told about mentioned the Berean series to, they said, hey, we love that Berean series. We're using that. And because they're a smaller church and they don't have many teachers, but they can find a facilitator. And so they said, we love that. And then there are other things that we're trying to do. We try to help them find ministers, and we try to help them find resources. So it's not just a one-way street,
Right.
because we're here to help the advancement of the church, not just a student, but the church.
The whole thing.
And if church out there has a need that I can help them with, I will do my very best to help them find that need, fill that need.
Yeah. I love it. It's full circle. It comes full circle. I love it. It's we help each other, in the needs that we can meet. Collectively, it gets us to the end of to God's purpose for us. And I appreciate everyone. If you're listening in today, it's because you want to give, or you're interested in Christian education, or you're interested in the lost souls. And we're just really excited that you have taken time to listen in. And we just hope that this has helped you understand Heritage a little bit better, and kind of where we are financially, and where we need to be, where we want to stay. So we appreciate you tuning in.
Thanks for joining us for this week's podcast. For more information, go to hcu.edu and remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe.